Say it. So I'm Victoria. I'm CIO and Managing Partner at Astia. For those not familiar with Astia, we are focused on leveling the investment playing field for women entrepreneurs and their teams. We do that through investment. We're investing out of a venture fund focused on Series A and Series B. And we just published a white paper. You should check it out. It's about our processes to remove bias and gut decisions and FOMO in the investment process. Spoiler alert, when you're able to do that, you get better performance. So please take a look. But diving in, Jesse, I'd love to start with your non-direct path to venture capital, which I love. It's close to my heart. I started out as a Broadway casting director, and then I was a theater producer and an entrepreneur, and then I made my way to venture capital. So I really relate to the non-direct path. You started as an Emmy award-winning TV show host and made your way to venture capital. So tell us a little bit about that journey and how it has inspired what you do at Halogen.
I'll try and spice it up for you. Towards the end of the day, I appreciate you all being here truly, and I'm honored to be here. My line to where I am today. I am Jesse Draper. I run Halogen Ventures. We invest in early stage, female-founded consumer technology and B2B. We're on our third fund today. We are focused on future of family. How do you support the family at work, at home, the physical health of the family, and the financial health of the family? We have $5 billion companies in our portfolio today. We have over 75 companies, and before you ask if men can work at them, they can. We love men. And I just get very funny questions. I'm sure just like at Astia, they say, what if a guy works at the company? I'm like, well, we're building billion-dollar businesses, so hopefully eventually lots of men work at our companies. I just want to make sure that there's a female on the founding team, and that we're, changing the numbers, changing the game, and ultimately creating better businesses because the business case is there. So I started in acting. I grew up. It was in some ways a very, I grew up in Silicon Valley, and by the way, Astia is incredibly influential. So thank you for saying that. I was like, you guys are doing so much for women. I grew up in Silicon Valley. I'm a fourth generation venture capitalist and the first female in line. I like to just get it out of the way because there's a lot of preconceived notions when you say you're the fourth generation of anything, but it wasn't direct to getting here today because I saw so many incredible men before me. And it didn't look normal to me to have a woman in the lead. And so I looked around. My mom worked incredibly hard raising 4 children. And I was like, but I want to be like my dad, but there's literally no women around him. And so I saw my aunt. She was an actress. Her name's Polly Draper. She's a successful actress. And she's actually in Hacks right now, and she's like the funny psychic. Anyway, she's amazing. And I was like, well, that's what women do. That's a traditional job for a woman. And as a little 8-year-old, they say you can be what you can see. That's what I could see. And so I just had this line of sight. That's what I'm going to do. I went to UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television, and I was just determined to do that. I ended up acting a little after college, was on a Nickelodeon show, actually lived out here. I'm based in Los Angeles. I worked in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, did 3 seasons of that show. It was like a wild other life. It was like the Miley Cyrus era and just totally insane. A lot of fun. And then, I kind of went back and forth, and I always had my dad in my ear saying, well, how are you going to make this a business? Because I was a Z-list celebrity on a Nickelodeon show, I was invited to the first Twitter conference at the Skirball Center outside of Los Angeles. And I went there, and it was so magical to me. I was still one of I can name the 5 women who were at this conference when I went to this, and I still know them very well. And it was like the early tweeters, whatever you want to call them. And it was all the people who'd blown up on Twitter and then speaking on panels about how they'd blown up on Twitter. And it was like the Kobe beef truck and like Tony Robbins. And I mean, it was incredible. And I was like, there's something really cool going on here. It was also the time where the transference of media and video to the internet was happening. So before then, just to remind you, way back when, there wasn't video online. And so I wanted to capitalize on that because I'd grown up around these incredible entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley during this kind of dot-com era. I started saying, why aren't they on the cover of magazines? Like at the time it was Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton, who I think Paris Hilton's a genius now, but they were very scantily clad on the covers of magazines. And I'd say, what about these innovative brains? Like, they're amazing. So I started a tech talk show out of my parents' garage called The Valley Girl Show. It was totally ridiculous. I painted the whole room pink. I wore pink. It was like the complete, it was like a Borat style talk show. I was much kinder than Borat, I would say. Hired my brothers who were in high school, fired them very quickly because they got bored and put the camera down in the middle of an interview with Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google. I ended up interviewing these incredible men in technology. Elon Musk, he and I both wish this video would leave the internet. I wish you could delete things. It's there. Don't Google it. Now you will. Don't do it. It's just terrible. We all wish it would die. You can't get rid of things on the internet. That's a new company I will fund. I'm taking you a long, convoluted path to where I am today, but through that show, I was like, I'm only interviewing incredible men in technology, and I'm just facilitating this problem that I've seen. How can I make change here? And I realized I could do it in two ways. One, I needed to get women in tech media exposure, and two, they needed funding. So I made an initiative on my show to interview 50% women in tech. I got Sheryl Sandberg before she'd written Lean In, before anyone knew she was a household name, and Jessica Alba when she just started Honest Company. And I look back at these incredible names and I'm like, man, if I only had a fund then, they all went public, And I would see these really great opportunities. And I quickly learned things like you can't have a Series A company on your show because they're too young and they might go out of business by the time you've edited and closed captioned and put it on television or what have you. We were nominated for an Emmy. Also, we're getting distribution wherever I could find it. It was those early days where you're figuring out the business model. We were one of the first tech talk shows or the first video content companies to partner with Forbes.com and all these sort of early tech news sites. So through that, I would get pitched all the time. And sometimes I'd say, you're a little early for the show, love what you're doing. Can I negotiate some sweat equity? And then it was like, can I write you a small check? And one of those did really well for me. It was a company called Laurel and Wolf. They raised some money in Los Angeles. Benchmark came in, a great VC fund, marked it up significantly, and because I was a small investor, I had the opportunity to sell for a 26x multiple in less than 18 months. I then had a nice track record. I think it's really important to share numbers. And I had a really nice track record there, had some other small wins, and used that to go raise my first fund. My first fund, I didn't know what an investor looked like. I was pitching people. I was like, do you have money? I don't know. Like what, and founder pitches would turn into like, oh, I have a family office. And I'm like, you have a family office? Okay, well, maybe I'm pitching you, And I learned so much. I pitched probably 500 investors for that first fund. I did get some of the guests on my show like Rebecca Minkoff and the Gilt Girls, and I'm so grateful to them because they were women in tech. Fashion tech was this new term back then. That it was okay for them to put themselves out there. It was actually very difficult for me to find women in tech back then who were willing to put themselves out there. Also, it didn't help that I painted everything pink and it was like a totally silly, fun talk show. But I then had this first fund and I went and I said, I want to keep investing in women. The thesis, so venture capital, I know you guys have learned so much over the last 2 days, but I look at it like I raise a pool of funds and I can invest that on any thesis, that I want to. And my thesis is there has to be a female in the founding team and consumer tech and B2B. And that has been just a deal flow magnet. I learned on the show, I still call it the Batwoman signal, that women came to pitch. They were like, wait, a woman is looking to invest in women? This is amazing. I'm sure you feel it too. It's
Absolutely.
like, we saw 10,000 deals last year. We can't even get through them because of the deal flow. And then I'm talking to other VCs and they're like, where do you find your deal flow? I'm like, I don't know. It's just women, man. Like, it's women. And so there's no shortage. So we just raised our third fund. I don't know what we're talking about today. I'll go somewhere and then ask a question. And I don't know. We just closed our third fund. I'm so relieved. And everyone's like, third fund's easy. It'll be so great. You have a track record, all this stuff. We've had so many exits. Third fund was wild. It was like con artists we talked to and wasted all this time and put together decks upon decks. True con artists. Like, I could write a book upon it. We had, I had to turn down money because I kept bumping into these billionaires who were trying to give away all their money, and they were making me sign things that said I wouldn't like make over a certain amount of money with the investment. And I was like, oh no. The plan here is to make a lot of money, so like I can't sign off on that. It was just wild, and I think for us, it meant we were a small fund getting into the more institutional investors. And I know you had on the question list something kind of interesting that we're doing is we applied for SSBCI funding, which is state funding, it's government funding because of our future family thesis. We really decided this fund, we're going after childcare. We wanted the whole fund to be about childcare. We got some pushback. People said, is that a big enough opportunity? I'm like, it's 548 billion, but challenge accepted. And we made it bigger because it is much bigger. Jennifer, my incredible partner, raise your hand because you can't do anything alone. One of my partners here, she did this huge study on future of family. Future of family is a $7.5 trillion opportunity. And everyone comes from a family, has a family, wants to help families. So I feel like it's a massive opportunity, and we're really trying to solve childcare across the country. We applied for California funding, and the first one to come through, there's only 5 or 6 states across the country that have this SSBCI funding. The first state to come through was Alabama. And we were the first out-of-state fund to receive funding from Alabama. It has been, I had never been to Alabama. We went there, and I'm going to be honest, we had preconceived notions, politically and beyond. And we have now spent a significant amount of time there, and we realized not only are women going to make change in this country, like, this is how you make change in this country. We are now investing $10 million into the state of Alabama, in addition to our regular fund across the country, and we have found some amazing entrepreneurs there. I would encourage you to go spend time in states you haven't spent time in. I think that's how we bring everyone together. And so I'm on a wild ride. We then received funding from the state of California, but they were so late that we couldn't take them.
Well, I have to say about the Alabama, because I did want to talk about that. We'll jump right to that question.
So happy
no, it's so great. So
this is my second speaking thing today, so who knows what's coming up.
Here's what's amazing about Alabama. So Alabama is ranked last in the whole country in terms of number of women entrepreneurs and funding to women entrepreneurs. So I have to give you big kudos because you're going into the most challenging environment. Yeah. That's badass. Very cool. And here's the other thing. Here's what makes it doubly badass is because the bar's higher, right? Like when you invest in a white dude and he fails, people are like, okay, I'll invest in your next company.
And I don't want to take down, white dudes. I was raised by, I don't want to take down dudes at all.
Totally, we're not taking them down.
I'm
not taking about the dude, but
and we need everybody.
Absolutely.
Women and men, we need to invest together also.
Right, but they'll get the investment again, right? Their LPs will be like, okay, that's okay, it failed, we're putting more money in it. When a woman fails, they look and they say, oh, look, the investment thesis is wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, look, women-led companies don't succeed, right? So the bar's higher.
Yeah.
And so kudos to you. You're going in, you're, putting money where your mouth is, and you're there to make change. So it's exciting. What are you most excited about for Alabama, for what you're doing in Alabama?
I mean, it's kind of like you've been doing the same thing for the last 10 years, and then you're like, what's in Alabama? And so it's new, and it's been fun. We had to create a whole new thesis within our fund and a new strategy, and it's been really exciting and interesting. And we're looking at investing in terms of, okay, what are companies that will thrive in Alabama and help lift the economy? We met with the Capitol, we met with the treasurer like 2 weeks ago of Alabama and the Secretary of Commerce and Workforce and all these things, and said, hey, here's where we think the issues are. And it's actually a really exciting thing because Condoleezza Rice is from Alabama. She teaches at Stanford. She got the Hoover Institute, which is their big research department, to do a 150-page study on how to reinvigorate Alabama and make change there. So our funding is directly basically from that program, which was started in 2020. And so it's opened my eyes, and I'm just I'm learning, I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm looking at investments differently. And I would say it's like in the study, they learned that a lot of the young people who are graduating colleges, for example, are not sticking around. Yeah. And then they're living with their parents and they're not working. And a lot of this is because there aren't enough job opportunities and apparently not enough recreational activities. So this great incubator there is now hosting a pitch day for recreational activities, and they're the state, it's called Innovate Alabama is the program we're working with, and they're investing a lot in these companies to kind of keep them there. And there have been a lot of success stories. Shipped, this guy Bill Smith started this company, Shipped. It's a last mile delivery service, and they sold to Target in 2017 for about $500 million. And so you can see the beginning in Birmingham of an exciting opportunity where you have like a bank name on a building, and then it's like Shipped. Mm-hmm. And then we went and we met with 5 spin-outs of Shipped, and you see how one entrepreneur can change an entire ecosystem, state, everything. It's been really fascinating.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, you talked about your show. I'm going to take you back to 2012.
Yes.
You had Sharon on your show, the
CEO
CEO of Astia.
Astia. I was thinking that.
And you asked her at the time what her vision for Astia was. And I don't know if you remember, but she said her vision was that Astia would be out of business by 2020 because there'd be no need for a company focused on leveling the investment playing field for women entrepreneurs, right? Here we are, we're 2025. Let me tell you, Astia is still very much in business. Halogen is still very much in business. So the numbers haven't really moved, right? What do you think about, where are we now? Are we at a pivotal moment? Is something changing? How? Like, Jesse, what do we need to do to change these friggin' numbers?
So I wrote this article like 4 years ago that's called Investing in Women Isn't a Fucking Charity. I'm sorry I swore. I swear it's a problem. My life, actually, it's why I speak a lot. And, it hit this moment in time where women were so frustrated because they were like, yeah, it is a business opportunity. Why do they look at us like philanthropy? So when you ask what we need to do, I don't think it's changed enough in the last 4 years since I wrote that article, or 3 years. What we need, that I'm fighting for every day, is we need women writing checks. And women typically don't have as much capital as men, or they're more risk averse. This is something I see and live and breathe every single day. I'll meet with a guy and he'll be like, yeah, okay, I feel good about it. I'm gonna write you $1 million check. And I'm like, okay. I'll meet with a woman who has significantly more resources, and it'll be 6 meetings, and I'm like, what do I need to do to get you across the bridge? And they're like, well, I gave all this money to charity. And I say, well, that's, with all due respect, we can make you more money that then you can give away to charity, but this will also stimulate the ecosystem, create gender equality, change the pay gap. We need more women investing. I am begging you, $1, $100, $1,000. There's ways to put your money to work. You could download the Robinhood app and buy some stock right now, or the Acorns app. If you aren't familiar with investing with the stock market, make sure you're in there already. I think it sounds like you guys are all fairly savvy, so hopefully you have some stocks. If you don't, invest $100 like right now, because the more you do that, the more you learn. Also, in your relationships, whatever they may be, make sure you're in the room. I can't tell you how many times I've met with a woman who is like, I sold my company for $100 million. I'm like, great, what are you going to do with the money? She's like, oh, my husband's figuring that out. And I'm like, no, you made the money. Let's figure out what do you want to do? Money is a way to move things it's a means to do and create what you want to see the world exemplify. So I think that that's what we need. We need more women putting their money to work and learning and not being as risk averse. Like I love men investing, and it's this, I call it, men have the gut check. They're like, I have a gut check. I feel good. And then women actually, are better investors because they take much more calculated risk. And even if you aren't savvy in finance or feel that you aren't, I assure you, you are. It's simple addition and subtraction. It is, you're taking in much more risk quickly in your head than, the men you're working with. If you feel weird about it, don't do the investment, and invest in what you know and what you understand. Don't invest in something you don't understand. That's why I like consumer. When we get too kind of like, I don't know, out there, and I'm like, I'm still trying to understand this idea. I can't go there. I need to understand exactly how we're gonna make money, what it does. And so I think that's a really healthy way to invest. So I'd say put your money to work. And then the incredible men in this room, I'm so grateful for you to be in this room. Bring your daughters into the room when you're talking to them about finance. Make sure there's women on your boards. Make sure you're including them in the conversation. I work with so many family offices, and they often kind of push the women into the foundation piece of the family office. And I'm like, please include them also in the for-profit investment arm. Please also encourage them to find deals and bring them to you, because I think that's critical as well. So that's what we need.
Yeah. So that's great advice for the investors in us. For the entrepreneurs in the room, what's some of the advice you're giving to even your portfolio CEOs? It's tough out there, but what are you saying to help them keep going?
Where are, is it seed stage, series? Raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur. Just want to be helpful. Yeah. Okay, are we doing some revenue? Is it early, some seedish? Okay. So fundraising is always hard, but don't look at it as hard. Look at it as something you just have to finish. When I have a lot of founders, and they'll come to me and they'll say, I talked to all these investors and they said no. And I'll say, well, how many investors? They'll say 8. I'm like, okay, go talk to 100. And then if they all say no, come back and we'll figure something out. But at about 20, if 20 have said no, go start getting some feedback and say, hey, why didn't you invest? And sometimes it's a really simple thing that you could just fix with a picture in your deck, or a different number in your deck or something. And sometimes I love doing this actually at the end of my pitches. I always say have a 10-page pitch deck, walk them through it, and at the end, women have more trouble asking for funds and raising capital. Just last page, just be like, this is how much I'm raising. It's done. It's done for you. You don't even have to ask. It's on the slide deck, and you say, I'm raising $2 million for this, this, and this. And I think make sure you do the ask. And then also after you've presented your whole company to an investor, that moment is critical. You just finished your pitch. You look them directly in the eye and you go, so is this interesting to you? And then people's faces don't lie. That saved me hours of meetings, And I'm like, oh, and then they'll say something like, oh, actually, we're not very liquid and we don't have the capital right now. And I'm like, okay, you just saved me so much time. Thank you. Let me know when you are, or I'll follow up with you next fund or what have you, because it's a numbers game.
Get to the no quickly.
Get through the no's. And there will be no's. And sometimes you feel like you got hit by a truck, and sometimes it's awesome. But also just don't take the money from the people who make you feel awful and feel like you got hit by a train. There's other money out there. You want to work with really good people. There's a long-term partnership. I could go on. That's my advice for fundraising.